How's it going, laser persons? I'm probably Sixkilla and welcome back to Root Double. We have just discovered Ukita's true calling, his battle against the Rokume City establishment, and his message to get Watase to join in, and letting us know about Subject A and how the fires broke out, and somehow Watase is sort of skewing that into a hatred of all communicators by the look of it, I guess. It hasn't gone that far yet, but it can't be that far away. Let's carry on, shall we? I see, so that's why Watase hates communicators so much. It's iffy, man. It makes it, like I said, it makes sense that he hates Rokume City for covering it up. It makes sense that he hates Subject A for being the one who set the fires, but she is dead. Why would you just spread that to all communicators? And now I know that it was Mr. Ukita who led Watase down the path of evil. He had his suspicions for a while, but now he knew for sure that Ukita was also a terrorist. But Mr. Ukita and Watase are making a grave misunderstanding. Yuri was a test subject, but she never turned into a monster. Communicator A may indeed have been a dangerous being, but Labo as it is now isn't creating any monsters. And of course there's no way in hell that absurd story about them creating biological weapons is true either. Then that meant Watase's descent into terrorism was most likely based on a misunderstanding. The more of Watase's memories he saw, the stronger the pain in Natsuhiko's heart grew, but he kept on viewing those memories to learn the truth. And so the next memory to appear was an event that took place exactly 1 month later. We'd been in Watase's memories for 3 episodes now, this is our 3rd episode in there, but a lot has come to light during that time. The name of the man who had told Watase the truth at the ruins of the hospital was Keiji Ukita. On that day, he left Watase with the words, "If you want to become one of our comrades, then feel free to contact me at any time." Watase racked his mind over what to do all throughout the next month, and then finally contacted Ukita. They secretly met at the same place as last time, the ruins of the hospital. Watase arrived there shortly after leaving work. Before long, Ukita also showed up with a tense look on his face. "It's been a long time, Mr. Kasasagi. Have you decided to become one of us?" "No. I want to ask you something before that." "What's that?" "Why are you betraying Labo?" "I can't trust a man who'd betray his own organization without first hearing a clear reason that I can accept." A bitter look rose to Ukita's face when he heard that question. "Because I hate the way Labo does things, that's all." A floral scent wafted through the air when Ukita said that. "What? But aren't you guys the ones who are abducting communicators and using them for human experimentation?" "No, that's only done by a small number of employees known as senior fellows, high-ranked researchers in other words, like Natsuhiko's mother. Junior fellows, normal researchers like me, know that Labo is a BC research facility, but don't know about the test subjects. But I accidentally discovered the truth, you see. It appears that there was someone who came before me, who also learned of the secret, but he was killed. Labo thinks nothing of the lives of us junior fellows, so I figured I had to do something before I was next." "So you're doing this to protect yourself, huh? I know it's much more pathetic than your reason, but is it acceptable to you?" "Yeah." Watase didn't think Ukita's reason was pathetic at all. It was only natural to want to save yourself when your own life was at risk. No one can blame him. Watase held his hand out to Ukita. "I'll trust you. I'll help you out as much as I'm needed to." "I'm grateful beyond words to hear that." Ukita then gave Watase a firm handshake. His hand was thin as a dead tree, but his palm was filled with heat. From that day onwards, Watase and Ukita began making preparations to put their terrorist plot into action. They held their secret meeting to formulate said plot in Watase's apartment. Before the meeting, Watase followed Ukita's instruction and checked the apartment to make sure it wasn't bugged anywhere. He was horrified to discover that there were indeed several bugs in his apartment, but he destroyed all of them. He was a bit cautious after that, but no new bugs were planted. It appeared he'd probably long since been an observation target for Rokume City. "Okay then, I need to know everything, Mr. Ukita. Tell me all the details about the plan and its goal." "Very well, this is what we've thought up so far." A faint floral scent filled the air when Ukita said that. "First of all, our ultimate objective is to abduct the test subjects." "Huh? What good's abducting monsters gonna do?" "I believe I've already told you this, but a communicator who's turned into a monster has the potential to become a biological weapon. Labo's barbarity would come to an end were the world to ever learn of the danger they possess." "I see, that makes sense. That would probably result in an investigation into all the other things that Rokume City's been covering up all this time, one after another. Indeed, it would also deal a major blow to both Labo and Rokume City. But even so, how are we supposed to break into Labo to do that? Labo has strict security on par with that of a nuclear power plant, right? Indeed, that's where you and your rescue squad come in. What? Labo's security has but one hole in it. It's the automatic disaster prevention system, the biggest blind spot. So you plan to exploit the disaster prevention system? Yes, when a fire breaks out in Labo, they automatically send you a report to you guys at Sirius, right? That should allow you guys to break into Labo without being stopped by security. I get it, so you're saying we should take advantage of the chaos following the fire to get those test subjects out. Now he finally understood why Ukita had recruited him. But this is just your way in. Labo's security system has layer upon layer of protection that will provide several obstacles toward the plan's execution. I'll explain them one by one. Ukita took out his PDA. A map was on its screen. This is a map of Labo. Q's comrades were able to steal this map from the contractors who built the facility. Anyway, take a look at this. The test subjects are being held captive in the deepest depths beneath Labo. You mean floor B2? You heard that Labo had 2 surface floors and 2 basement floors, so you assumed that they'd be on the lowest floor. No, deeper than that. In the center of the basement floors is Area N, but the truth is, there's an elevator there that goes down. Well, it's at Area 0, wasn't it? What, so there's a B3? Precisely, it's a large basement floor, located in a deep underground area known as Area 0. This is where the 2 test subjects are being held, a place where no sunlight ever reaches. So we've got 2 test subjects, huh? Do we know their names, ages and genders? No. All I was able to discover is that they're called Subject N and Subject Y2. Y2? So there's a Y1? No, they say Subject Y was discarded several years ago. Natsuhiko's Subject Y then. And Yuri is Y2. Right? Most likely died in Labo, just like Subject A. I see. Natsuhiko was shocked to hear what they were saying. There's a 3rd basement floor known as Area 0. So that means there's another floor under Labo. Right under where I was lying for all those hours. According to what he'd heard, the ones imprisoned down there were Subject N and Subject Y2. He didn't know which one referred to Yuri and which one referred to the other girl. Y2's gotta be Yuri. But that means what Yuri said was true. There had also been a Subject Y, but they'd already died, apparently. Did they also die from human experimentation? But nothing like that ever happened to Yuri. Wait, hold on, could that mean that the test subjects were each treated differently? It was still too much Natsuhiko didn't know. Watase kept silent, and Ukita continued, let's get back on topic. So the test subjects we need to save are in Area 0. However, in order to get down there, you'll need 2 security cards from top brass researchers. What's more, there's apparently a retinal scan ID process involved. They sure didn't pull their punches when it came to security on the thing. Indeed, to make matters worse, even if you can get the test subjects out of Area 0, there's another problem. As soon as you get out of Area N, a Case N, the code to prevent a test subject from escaping would be declared. A Case N, a code that locks down the countless security gates in the facility. What's more, it causes indestructible bulkheads to block all routes to the surface, preventing anyone from getting out. Furthermore, the security team and staff will realise something's gone horribly wrong when a Case N is announced. Any staff still inside the facility will become desperate to find the escaped test subjects, while the security teams outside the facility will form a perimeter around the facility to prevent them from getting away. That does sound like quite the challenge. Then is there any way to prevent a Case N from being declared? No. The Case N declaration system is conducted by the supercomputer Brain Cell, which supervises all of Labo. It has 3 control systems that mutually complement each other. It's impossible to knock them all offline at the same time. Talk about thorough. Yes, though apparently you can take the test subjects all the way to Area 5 if you go through standard procedures. Area 5? Why is that the one place it's okay to take them to? There are rooms in that area where they conduct examinations and experiments on the test subjects. Therefore, it's the only place where the test subjects are allowed to be taken to. But even in the case that they are taken to Area 5, it appears a Case N is still declared if they ever approach the elevators and emergency staircases. So what you're saying is that it's impossible to leave the facility with the test subjects, even if we manage to get in there. Yes, but we must do it regardless. We have to make the impossible possible. Watase nodded. There were 3 major problems with the plan. The first one was finding a way to get past the security card and retinal scan checks to get down to Area 0. The second one was finding a way to get the test subjects out of there without being discovered by the staff still in the facility. The third and final one was finding a way to escape the facility with the test subjects even after a Case N had been declared. Let's cover the first problem first. how to get down to Area 0. We'll probably have to render some high-rank researchers unconscious on the day we execute our plan, then take them with us and force them to do the retinal scan. That's also how we'll get the cards. That way we can get down to Area 0 by making it look like we're going through standard procedures. I don't like the idea of doing that, but we have no choice, huh? Watase accepted Ukita's proposal. Let's move on to the next issue then. As for how we can deal with the staff in the facility, we've decided to use the Case N declaration against them. What do you mean? It's a little complicated, but hear me out. It'll go something like this. And with that lead-in, Ukita began explaining. First things first, Labo has this machine in it called a WX particle amplifier. It'll go haywire if handled incorrectly. Brain Cell will automatically take action to stop the machine once it goes haywire. But it will take time for it to stop. If we intentionally cause it to go haywire, that process will take 12 hours. And if a case N is declared at the same time the WX particle amplifier is going haywire, then it will be impossible to call off the case N until the machine has stopped going haywire. It will be absolutely impossible for them to open up the sealed bulkheads. What? Why won't they be able to open up the bulkheads? The WX amplifier is basically a machine that spreads elementary particles that amplify the effects of BC. Can you imagine what would happen if a test subject escaped while that machine was going haywire? It's likely they'd use BC to seek help from people outside. In the worst case scenario, the townspeople could end up receiving the test subject's telepathy. I see. Now I understand why they won't be able to open the bulkheads. It's just yet another part of their whole cover-up. But what does that have to do with how security teams will try to deal with it? Right, I was about to use that as the basis to explain what we should do. First, we'll start a fire in the facility and force the staff and security teams to evacuate. We won't rescue the test subjects yet at that point, but if the WX particle amplifier goes haywire and a case N is declared after they've all evacuated, then there'll be no one left in the facility. Everything sounded like a good idea up until that point. But won't that mean we won't be able to get outside? Incorrect. There's still a single place we can escape from, even with the bulkheads locked down. What was that? The WX particle amplifier coolant pipes. Ukita fiddled around with his PDA again after he said that. When he did, the screen changed to show the WX particle amplifier's manual. The water used for the WX particle amplifier's coolant is drawn from Lake Rokume. The coolant's intake and drainage pipe are 1 meter in diameter, just big enough for a person to fit in. The pipes are filled with hot water that circulates at high speeds. But the whole thing's set up so that the water automatically stops flowing if you destroy the coolant's filtering mechanism. Wait, hold on. Won't opening a hole in the intake pipe flood all of Labo? Watase pointed to a part of the diagram and spoke. According to this diagram, the intake pipe is located under Rokume's water level. Meaning water will pour out of the pipe all at once if you open a hole in it, running water or not, and Labo will be flooded. Right, which is why we'll open a hole in the drainage pipe. There's a giant pump inside the drainage pipe that will prevent us from passing through. So I want you to destroy it. Ukita said that with a broad grin on his face. Did you say destroy it? How? If you destroy the pump first, then your main obstacle will be the water in the pipe. But if we stop the water from running and then open a hole in the bottom half of the pipe, I might get it, then we can drain the water. Glad you get it. The drainage pipe exit was above Lake Rokume's water level, meaning that unlike the intake pipe, opening a hole in there would cause much less water to pour out. So our next issue is how to destroy the pump after we've drained the water, but this is where I'll appreciate some ideas from you. Can you think of any specialized rescue equipment that can be used to destroy the pump? Let's see, special equipment to destroy a pump, huh? Watase thought the whole thing through, then quickly found the answer. I know, a jackhammer should probably do the trick. Jackhammer? You know, the tool used to smash down bedrock. We use it to rescue people who are trapped behind fallen debris. So it shouldn't look all that suspicious if we use the fire as a pretext to bring one down to the basement. Indeed, that sounds like it would work nicely, but how much time do you think it would take for one of those to destroy the pump? Well, if we kept working without a break, I'd say about 3 hours or so. But he said the bulkheads will remain closed for about 12 hours if a case N is declared, right? So it might take a little time, but it shouldn't be a problem. After we force the facility into lockdown, we'll take our time destroying the pump, and then we can escape to Lake Rokume with the test subjects. Those dumbasses at Labo will just be waiting outside the facility the whole time for the lockdown to be lifted, and when the bulkheads finally open, they'll find nothing more than an empty husk. Incredible! It's the perfect plan. Oh yeah, perfect. It could never go wrong. Ukita broke out into a reassured smile. Satisfied, Watase returned Ukita's smile with one of his own. Alright, then let's get on with the plan. Things are about to get busy. So who shot everyone though? That's what I want to know. Is it Ukita who shot everybody? He was crazy after all. Yes, there's a lot of things we need to prepare in order to execute our plan. It's about time we got to thinking about the starting point though. How do we cause the fire in the facility? Leave that to me. I'll contact the other Q members and get incendiary bombs and the other necessary equipment from them. Thanks, you're a lifesaver. Or a life remover. And so Watase and Ukita began formulating their plan on a grand scale. Ukita contacted the other Q members and gave them the outline of the plan. Q gave their answer on the spot. It's a good plan, we approve of it as well. We'll back you up in every way we can. Once they got that answer, Watase and Ukita collaborated with the other Q members located in Rokume City to move forward with the plan. First they got their answer on how to cause the fire. We will prepare 100 incendiary time bombs, set those up in Labo, and make them go off all at the same time. I'm grateful for that. The problem is how to set the bombs in the first place. That will indeed be difficult. Someone will spot the bombs shortly after they're planted and cause a big fuss. Then can't we hide the bombs in something to disguise them? That way they won't suspect they're bombs when they see them. For example, by putting them in fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers? Our squad directs Labo's disaster prevention. We replace their old fire extinguishers with new ones every 2 years as a part of that program. That's our chance. If we use that opportunity to switch the fire extinguishers out with the ones filled with the bombs, then we can set bombs all over Labo in no time. And no one ever looks at what's inside a fire extinguisher, so we won't have to worry about anyone finding them. It's the perfect camouflage. Alright, then we'll go with that. We're scheduled to replace the fire extinguishers in September of next year. After that, Labo will be filled with bombs disguised as fire extinguishers. We also received various orders from Q. As for us, we'd like you to physically destroy Labo. It is a symbol of Rokume City's wrongdoings. By destroying it, we can let the world know of our resentment. We have prepared a powerful time bomb that will blow Labo sky high, plant it inside the facility. It's easy enough to set up that time bomb, but I'd rather we do it in a way to prevent casualties. But destroying Labo has huge benefits to us. If we cause an explosion powerful enough to blow up the entire facility, then won't Labo's staff waiting outside believe both we and the test subjects died in it? I see, so that way we'll pull the wool right over our pursuers' eyes, but there's one major problem with that. If I've got this right, in order to get down to Area 0, we'll have to knock out 2 high-ranked researchers and take them down with us for authentication, correct? But that means they'll be stuck in the facility after the KSN is declared, then they'll get caught up in the explosion. That's true. On the other hand, I think it's far too risky to take them with us when we escape, so I'd rather not. It's a rather tight escape plan. Alright, then how about this? We'll set the time bomb so it goes off 1 minute after the lockdown lifts. That should give both of them just enough time to escape. Is there a way we can figure out the time the lockdown will be lifted in advance? Brain Cells Monitor will show the expected time for when the lockdown is to be lifted. We'll check that, then set the bomb's timer for 1 minute after that. Though to be honest, it's a rather desperate measure. Can't do anything about that. I mean, we're trying to carry out a terrorist plot without killing anyone. It sounds nigh impossible. But aren't we being naive for coming up with that idea? No, it's the right thing to do. We'll be lower than shit if we kill anyone. No better than the guys at Labo. Yes, you're right. Natsuhiko shuddered when he heard their conversation. Did they just say there's a powerful time bomb that can blow Labo sky high? And that they planted that thing in Labo? But it was set to go off 1 minute after the lockdown ended. Watase, Mr. Ukita, what have you done? But on the other hand, there was something else that was really bugging him. But something's weird. Watase said he wanted to avoid casualties. Like Mr. Ukita said, that's a rather naive idea for a terrorist. Was he thinking that though the communicators were monsters, he didn't want to kill any humans if possible? Are communicators and humans totally different species in Watase's mind? It was indeed somewhat strange, but Natsuhiko continued to read through Watase's memories. And thus their plan approached its final stages. It was then that Q sent their third set of orders. We're uneasy about only 2 people carrying out the plan. We'd prefer it if you could get about 2 more people for the job. Hiyama and Dojima, right? We would like you to invite Mr. Seiji Dojima and Mr. Kazuki Hiyama, Comrade Kasasagi's co-workers, to become our comrades. Watase understood what they were getting at, but though he was okay with just himself being part of it, was it really okay for him to get his co-workers wrapped up in this terrorist plot? Those guys have the same background as me. Dojima lost his girlfriend in the Great Arson, while Hiyama lost his younger brother. So if they learn the truth, they too should hate Rokume City's barbarism enough to want revenge, just like me. So while he was reluctant at first, Watase eventually contacted Dojima and Hiyama. So how'd your co-workers react to the news? The exact same way I did. They shook with anger and agreed to join Q. I see. Then that means all necessary pieces are now in place, and thus Watase and Ukita's plan was now complete. They plant incendiary bombs and fire extinguishers and artificially start a fire. Next, they'd cause the WX particle amplifier to go haywire, rescue the test subjects, and cause a case end to be declared. Once the lockdown began, they'd set a time bomb in the facility, then escape through the coolant's drainage pipe. Then once the bomb went off and all traces of Watase and Ukita's crimes, as well as any way of finding out if the test subjects were dead or alive, would go up in flames. So all that's left is to actually do this, huh? Indeed. Ukita took out his PDA. Q has sent us one last order to this PDA. I'll read it for us. What's it say? We are grateful for all your efforts, comrades Kasasagi and Ukita. We will now commence preparing the bombs and weapons necessary to carry out this plan. These include 100 incendiary bombs disguised as fire extinguishers, a 3 kilogram tetral explosive that will be used to destroy Labo, and 3 NZ-75 pistols for self-defense. The tetral and pistols will be mixed in with the rescue squad's special equipment and delivered on D-Day. Your target is the 6th Laboratory of Atomic and Biological Organization. Your objectives are to destroy the facility and abduct the 2 test subjects. The plan will be carried out approximately 1 year from now, on September 16th, 2030. The anniversary of the Great Hirokume City arson, huh? That day probably held unpleasant memories for Q's members, whoever they were. It was clearly no coincidence that they picked that day, of all days, to commence their plan. Until that day, each comrade is to make further preparations. There are countless things you must do in advance, such as hand-to-hand and firearms combat training. Naturally, you mustn't tell anyone else about the plan over the course of the next year, to say the least of opening your heart to anyone. Hirokume City is full of countless communicators. If you open your heart to someone, they might read your mind and find out all about the plan. All communicators are not like us. They're monsters with strange powers, but now deceased Subject A wasn't the exception, she was the standard. It's not true, she was an exception. Think of all communicators as abominations. Think of Hirokume City as a city full of monsters. You must put an end to this abnormal town's history. You may find that to be a rather extreme mindset, but unless you take precise caution, our flawless plan will come crashing down. Bear all of that in mind as you wait for the day of reckoning. The day where the truth shall be brought to light and 118 lost souls shall at last rest in peace. Once Ukita had finished reading the long piece of text, he shot Watase a pointed gaze. It's a rare view to voice these days, wouldn't you agree? Communicators are abominations, huh? Perhaps that's going too far, but it is indeed true that we cannot open our hearts to anyone. Yeah, you said it. And so Watase and his comrades began the long year of preparation, all the way until September 2030. The year spent preparing for the terrorist plot passed in the blink of an eye. Watase showed no indications of what he was doing and continued working as a rescue worker as he had before, while secretly getting ready for that day. Dojima and Hiyama were the same. They met with Ukita as little as possible and just waited for September 16th. Then something changed on September 13th, 3 days before D-Day. Watase was off duty that day. It would be his final day off as a rescue worker, so he figured he'd spend the day walking around the city. He aimlessly strolled through the city where he'd been born and raised. I'll probably never be able to come back to the city again once the plan's been executed. That thought caused him to become sentimental. Various memories passed through his head every time the scenery around him changed. Memories of the restaurant his parents had taken him to. Memories of the clothing store his sister had brought new clothes for him at. The city's full of places with memories of my family. He normally wasn't conscious of it, but the city was brimming with nostalgia for him. It wasn't just memories of his family that he recalled. There was one of the bars he'd gone bar hopping with, two with Dojima and Hiyama on the night they'd passed the rescue worker exam. There was the cafe where he'd broken up with his first girlfriend. There was the road he'd walked down with his last girlfriend hand in hand as they nestled close to one another. Watase was trying to cast aside all those memories to take his first step into a different life. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have my reservations. But he still had to do it. He'd reached that conclusion long ago. Because I'm the only one who can avenge Wataru and my folks. As the only survivor of the Kasasagi family, he would be disgracing his family's memory if he were to give up on his revenge before it even started. That's what he told himself. It wasn't long before dark clouds hung overhead. Looks like it's gonna rain. Since Watase hated getting rained on, he walked over to the nearest bus stop. A bus came by shortly afterwards. He got on to find it was packed inside. Maybe I could have taken a cab. Watase stood between the other passengers as he thought that, only for his thoughts to be interrupted by the sound of students chatting in the seats nearby. Natsuhiko, is there anything you want to buy? No, not in particular. That's a little boring. I know, let's pick out clothes for Natsuhiko this time. No, you don't need to. Why not? You've actually got some nice looks to start out with. You can't let it go to waste by being plain all the time. Well there, you don't want to make me your next dress-up doll, do you? I guess you could look at it that way too. The boy smiled wryly at the girl's playfulness. Thoughts crossed Watase's mind as he listened to their conversation. I feel like I've heard that conversation somewhere before. Where was it? Watase thought about it and then remembered. I know, how about your big sis pick out some clothes for you? No, you don't need to. Why not? You've actually got some nice looks starting out with. You can't let it go to waste by being plain all the time. Is that your subtle way of complimenting yourself? Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way too. Oh, that's right. This is just like the conversation I had with Wataru back when she was still alive. Man, hearing that sure brings me back. Just as he started to feel a sense of fellowship with those kids, the girl looked at him. It was only then that Watase realized it. The girl was wearing a Rokume Academy uniform. That was the school where they train communicators. They're communicators. Watase gasped in surprise. Shit, there's a chance a communicator will read my mind if I open my heart to them. Since they were students of Rokume Academy, it wouldn't be surprising if they could use empathy. Calm down. Keep your mind blank. In the off chance that someone reads your mind, the whole plan's doomed to fail. The members of Q that said that communicators are an abomination, and we have to put an end to this town's history. Hold on for just a few more days. Don't open your heart to anyone. I have to work under the assumption that this is actually a city full of monsters. Watase thought then closed his mind. Abandon your emotions and focus on carrying out the plan. For failure will most certainly not be tolerated. Watase made that cold vow, and kept to it as the next few days passed. Natsuhiko felt sad when he saw that memory. Watase, is that what you were thinking when you looked at us? So deep down you really were just a terrorist who hates communicators. Those unendurable thoughts raged in Natsuhiko's mind as he continued looking through Watase's memories. This is it, next up are his memories of today. Natsuhiko mentally prepared himself. He swore to accept the truth that lay in store for him, no matter what it was. And then came the day of fate. What about when they got attacked in the underground secret base place? And Salu got beaten up. And they threatened to kill us. One of them was meant to be Watase. And then came the day of fate. September 16th, 2030, 6:19 AM. Labo's automatic disaster prevention system sent a rescue request to Sirius. An accident involving explosions of unknown origin has occurred within the facility. Please dispatch at once. Watase and the others accepted that request and sped off toward Labo. Watase addressed his subordinates as they lined up, all of them garbed in the same type of protection suit he was wearing. Excellent. Listen up, people. Countless people are trapped in this lab as we speak, and due to the nature of this facility, this will be no ordinary... Everything is going according to plan. Ukita had caused a commotion by detonating the bombs in the facility, while Watase, Dojima and Hiyama had successfully invaded Labo without any resistance. Form two-man cells. Tachibana, you're with Mortabe. Dojima, you're with Hiyama. Make sure to keep in constant contact with Team B, don't forget this. His four subordinates then rushed into the facility as soon as Watase finished giving out his orders. He then stayed on the surface floor for a little while afterwards, directing rescue efforts to make sure none of the other squad members became an obstacle to the plan. Furthermore, Watase and the others had already administered the AD they'd been supplied with by Labo. Ukita had already told him that it wasn't anti-radiation medicine, but rather an anti-BC protective agent. There was no fear of radiation exposure, but administering themselves with AD would be necessary for their rescue of the communicators. It'd be bad if we didn't prepare ourselves for every little thing that could go wrong. If those test subjects trapped here have the same kind of power as A, then there's a chance that they could contaminate our minds via BC. Watase thought that over. At 6:34 AM, he got a radio transmission from Dojima and Hiyama. Kasasagi, get to the basement ASAP. Hurry, there's no time. They didn't call Watase captain. That was only natural. They weren't here for work today. Those two were his friends of many years who had talked to each other as equals without any regards for ranking when they were off the job. Roger that, just wait right there. This too was all going according to plan. Even if Commander Murakami had intercepted their transmission, he shouldn't have found it suspicious at all. Watase regrouped with Dojima and Hiyama in Area 2. On their way, they were faced with the inconvenience of encountering the students they'd threatened and tied up yesterday. Though how they'd broken free and made it here to begin with was its own question. But the kids quickly retreated, leaving the three comrades to press onwards. They then carried the two unconscious high-ranking researchers with them and headed on over to Area 3. Ukita was waiting for them in the surveillance room. He'd been observing the situation in the facility from there as he guided the evacuation of the staff through the room's intercom. Oh, you came at the perfect time. I just got a call from the service confirming that all the staff was evacuated, with the exception of those two. By those two, he was of course referring to the high-ranked researchers that Dojima and Hiyama were carrying. What's more, I just finished using brain cell to make the WX particle amplifier go haywire. This means that the bulkheads will be closed for a long time once the case in has been declared. According to brain cell's calculations, the lockdown won't lift until 6:16 PM. Good. Everything's going exactly as planned. The rescue workers checked their gear. They stole the security cards they needed to break into Area N from high-ranked researchers. Watase, Dojima and Hiyama each had one pistol. Furthermore, they had the jackhammer they planned to use to escape through the pipe, and a fire axe as backup. Last, they had the tetral bomb, the time bomb prepared by Q that held enough power to wipe out Labo in one blast. Sorry, but could you set the bomb's timer here? I'd rather make sure that we don't get the time wrong. Sure thing, set it for 6:17 PM, right? Watase then took out his PDA. Located in his PDA's data folder was the program to activate the tetral bomb. After he input the password and started up the program, the menu to set the time bomb appeared on screen. Now all that's left is to plant this thing in Area 0. Now, we can't turn back, huh? Watase nodded quietly in response. The program could only activate the bomb. There was no option to deactivate it. A sensor on the bomb would activate starting at 8:17 AM to prevent anyone from disarming it. No one would be able to stop it then. We'll head on down to Area 0 and rescue the test subjects. I'll stay here and keep an eye out to make sure nothing unexpected happens. Furthermore, the WX particles in Area N should exceed 4,000 microsieverts 20 minutes from now. The effects of AD will wear off when it exceeds that level. There's no time. Hurry. Right. The three rescue workers left the jackhammer in Ukita's care and rushed out of the surveillance room. They all headed for Area N with Watase carrying the bomb, while Dojima and Hiyama carried the high-ranking researchers. A thick security gate soon came into view. So this is Area N, huh? Those two are trapped just up ahead, right? Right, so let's go. Watase told his comrades that in a firm voice. Dojima and Hiyama had also lost loved ones in the Great Arson 16 years ago. They all knew accomplishing the plan wouldn't bring the dead back, but back then we couldn't save anyone. The time to atone for that has finally come. Engraving their conviction upon their hearts, the three comrades entered Area N. The Procyon's alarm didn't go off even as they got in. Probably because the WX particle energy wasn't strong enough to affect the human body yet. A transparent tube-shaped elevator lay in the centre of Area N. If they swiped the level N cards to the terminal lying next to it, and forced the high-ranking researcher to perform the retinal scan authentication, then the path to B3's Area 0 would open. We have to hurry before those guys wake up. The three of them approached the elevator and started fiddling with the terminal. A computer voice started playing once they'd swiped the security cards through the slot. Authorized personnel, retinal authentication required. Please bring your eye close to the scanner. They forced the unconscious researcher's eyes open and brought them toward the scanner, just as instructed. Area 0 Administrator Shuya Edaguchi, retina confirmed. Area 0 Administrator Ryoken Kashiwagi, retina confirmed. With the authentication complete, the three of them boarded the elevator. Elevator descending. Please administer AD immediately in the event that you have not done so. The floor shook at the same time that announcement was made, and the elevator started descending. Once they reached the bottom, the three of them were greeted with a most unexpected sight. What the hell is this? And with that, we're gonna have to wrap this one up here because we're out of time for today, but it looks like we've probably only got one more episode of Watase's Memories, and then we'll be caught up again. And then we'll have to find out whether Watase is gonna turn back into a psychotic and try and murder us, or actually help us. Who knows? Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.